Hello and welcome back to another reaction. In this occasion, Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 3 Episode 6. Yes, last time we got our perspective of a different perspective of our villains or of our antagonists. We saw them in a situation that was obviously not common for any show, and I really mean any show. Most of the show concentrate obviously in the relaxed part of the heroes, and the villain is always serious, but we don't see this fun side, which is something sometimes I miss. But this show did something pretty good and show us that yes, they are villains, but they still have fun. And this is entertaining and this is character development because obviously you now know more about your villains, about these characters than you knew before, which is obviously always exciting to see. I love how the show can build up the characters without feeling being odd, without feeling out of place. I think is the best way to describe what we saw in the last episode. And obviously, by doing so, they just took away the development of the well, not development. They took away the light from the protagonist, from Ang group, which obviously is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. It just gives variety to the show. It's something that I never knew I needed, but I'm so glad that I finally saw it because I do not remember something like this in the animes that I have seen, at least, unless they are comedies in which, yeah, obviously it's a little bit more obvious that they have this, but I do not remember something like this. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if you have seen an anime in which this or something like this happens in the middle of the series without feeling kind of odd, without being this out of place moment in which, yeah, they never speak about ever again. So yeah, let me know if you know an anime, and perhaps we have seen the same animes and I do not remember, just that. But anyway, yes, enough about all of these. It's, again, interesting to see, but I don't think you're here to hear me rambling all about all of this. So, yes. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, let me just remind you that if you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider a subscription and turn on notifications so you can get up to date with whatever we're doing with the channel. If you enjoy the video, please give me a thumbs up and obviously leave a comment so I know what you think about the episode, my reaction, or my commentary once you saw all of that, of course. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link is in the description below, alongside with the link to my Patreon page. Yes, I don't have many patrons, that is absolutely true, but come on, perhaps that could change in a certain point. So yeah, why not check it out, see if it's something that interested you. Remember that I post my uncut reaction and a week before the episode. So yes, this is something that my patrons already saw last week. But anyway, yes, enough about all of these. Let's just cut the presentation and watch the episode, shall we? Okay, I'm back. I just watched a second time and multiple times actually this last episode, the sixth episode. It's a fascinating one. Again, my love for this type of episode comes from the fact that you are given new perspective on a lot of things. When you explore the past and when you explore how the main plot of a series started, that's when it's obviously fascinating, especially when this is a conflict that is going on through 100 years at least. It is fascinating to see how everything began, how the things are evolving, and obviously how we come to this position in which the series just started. And obviously the show wouldn't be Avatar: The Last Airbender if they did not give us different perspectives of the same information, because basically the two sides that we saw in this episode are opposite sides, are obviously the people who were involved at the beginning but have different perspectives on this war that the Fire Nation started. And it's fascinating to see both sides. Obviously, we have the good side, let's say, the protagonist side. I think it sounds better. In which Avatar Roku, which is the avatar that we have seen the most outside of Aang, obviously, is showing us how he was friends with the Fire Lord that started everything. And this is something that I needed, because always in the back of my head was trying to think, the Fire Lord that started everything waited until the Fire Lord Roku was dead, or he started just when the Avatar Roku was still alive, or the Avatar Roku didn't do anything. That's something that was always in the back of my mind, but I was never available to express it because it didn't fit in any of the episodes that I saw. So I could never pose that question. Or at least I don't remember if I posed that question. But anyway. But now obviously we have our answers. He knew him. He not just knew him, he was his best friend. This obviously gives me a lot more information about about the Fire Lord Sosen and obviously Avatar Roku, because obviously for them to be this close, Avatar Roku has to be kind of in the nobility, because yeah, they look like they were good friends. Obviously he's not wearing rags, he is not obviously wearing anything special, but my guess is that he was part of the Fire Nation nobility, and I mean Avatar Roku was part of the Fire Nation nobility. Because even, yeah, obviously if you have a party, if you are the prince of a nation, let's say, you're going to drag the entire attention. But in this case, the prince was saying, no, I want to share my birthday and I want to share my celebration alongside with my friend. And since it's nobility, okay, sure, whatever, it's okay. My guess, yeah, again, they were nobles. Obviously, one was above the other, in this case, the prince. But once the realization that he was the Avatar, that changed. The Avatar has kind of a special place in this society. Not just obviously in the Fire Nation, but the entirety of this world. And he is obviously a more respected being. And we have seen this before. Hell, we saw this in the special that looked like PS1 graphics. We saw that with Avatar Kyoshi. When she faced the Earth Kingdom king, yeah. So again, I found fascinating to know more about not just the powers of previous avatars, because yeah, they kind of obviously share this amazing power and this amazing discipline. But we saw how their personalities really started, how everything started. And again, this is not just the perspective of how the war starts, but a more deep, I don't know, a deep knowledge of how the Avatar Roku really was. Because we not only saw the power side, we saw the human side. And this is something that the show is showing a lot. He's pushing a lot, but pushing it in a very organic way, let's say. It's not just pushing it just because, oh yes, you need to know this and forcing you to understand the way they wanted to understand. No, they are obviously showing, it in a natural way, let's say. Now, obviously, we know that he has to master the four elements, and in the end, he mastered them. He returned and saw his friend. For the first, I don't know, a couple of years, I guess, or months. I don't recall how much they time. I think it was months, then years when they did not see each other. Anyway, after some months, obviously, the real ambition of the Fire Lord Sosen, well, yeah, now Fire Lord Sosen, was starting to be seen. And his ambition was to conquer the world. He put it in a different words, but it was the same. I want to share the prosperity of this empire with the rest of the world. You can share it in so many ways. You don't have to rule above them. But obviously, a villain never saw himself or themselves as villains, as conquerors. They saw themselves as liberators, as martyrs that nobody understands what is the true meaning of power, what is the true meaning of ruling or whatever. They never saw themselves as villains. But obviously, once you pay attention to the conversation between Sozen and Roku, yeah, he was planning to conquer the world. He was trying to phrase it as something benign, but we know it's not the case. They were going to attack, they were going to destroy, they were going to burn everything that was in their way. And Sozen believed that with the Avatar by his side, he was going to be invincible. And yes, perhaps that will be the case, because yeah, the Avatar is amazingly powerful. But here is the thing, all the years that they spend in other nations teach them something different. And this is something I really appreciate about the nature of the Avatar, that they cannot learn all the abilities just from one nation. They need to travel all around the world to learn how to control water, how to control air, how to control earth, how to control fire. Obviously, I mentioned it before because, yeah, not every single avatar is a firebender or a waterbender or whatever. And this obviously gives you a different perspective. You start to understand the difference between the elements, but not just the elements, the difference between the people in the world. You start to see their human sides. Obviously, you start to see the ugly sides, but you start to understand that the ugly side is always there. It doesn't matter the nation. There is always a good side and there is always a bad side. And that is something that fascinates me because, yes, this is something that is needed. Because the Fire Lord, especially a Fire Lord in the position of privilege that they have, they cannot see the rest of the world. They only see their palace and perhaps the capital city, and I highly doubt they go out of the city. They only have one perspective, and the Avatar have different ones. And I love how they take this side of the Avatar, and yes, they are saying us, the Avatar needs to be human. And this is a great example of why he needs to be human. He needs to understand not just their nation, but the rest of the nations. And obviously we saw the conflict. We saw that obviously the Avatar is going to destroy the Fire Lord, because the Fire Lord only has one element, and the Avatar has the elements that can weaken in and strong this element, the air and the water, and the other element that can withstand fire. So yes, it's obvious. It's overpowered. But obviously that is not the end of the story. When the volcano erupted and the village of Roku was destroyed, they, for a brief moment, returned to being friends by protecting each other, by helping each other. But unfortunately, by the end of that, the ambition of the Fire Lord was way too big, and in the end, this ambition won. He did not kill the Avatar, but he did not save him. Yeah, that is a very Batman thing to do.
I won't kill you. But I don't have to save you.
But anyway, again, I am in conflict with this because for a moment there, Sozen was human again, was a friend again. Unfortunately, again, as I said before, the ambition was way too much. And that won. But I love the perspective that Aang took from this. Aang said, I don't think that he needs me to see that everybody is evil. No. I think he wanted to show me that friendship could overcome so many things. I love that Avatar took this negative side of the story and changed it to the good side, changed it to something positive. But obviously that is not the entire story that we saw here. We saw the perspective of Zuko. Zuko read the same story more or less, but from the perspective of his grandfather. One of them at least. and he decided to confront his uncle. So, okay, this is something I knew. I knew that my great-grandfather Sozen was conquering the world, and he died peacefully because he didn't die in that moment. He didn't die in the volcano. He didn't die there, so yeah, this wasn't the death. But I love how Uncle Iroh changed his point of view. That I was not speaking about Sozen. I was speaking about your other grandfather, great-grandfather. Avatar Roku. My god, when I hear that, I was in complete shock, man. What the fuck, man? He is the grandson, yes. My god, I even having problems processing that when I'm just remembering it. He is, oh my god, he's the great-grandson of an Avatar fan. I don't know what does that mean. I don't know if it means anything in the long run, but it's still fascinating to learn about the history of Zuko. Oh my god! Okay. Yeah, this is certainly fascinating to learn. And obviously this introduced more conflict, at least inner conflict, for Zuko. Because perhaps he did not resolve, but at least the cathartic moment that he had at the beach was kind of relaxing him. But once he learned this fact, it throws a wrench into his mind, because yeah, everything changes, his perspective changes. That yes, he represents a side that he represents something that has both sides in him. He has the side of Fire Lord Sozen that wants to conquer the world, and he has the side of the other person, Avatar Roku, that want to avoid this conflict and wanted to maintain the peace and balance in the world. I love that aspect, because again, they are creating this fascinating moment in which, again, I hope they redeem Sokka. Zuko, sorry, Sokka has been redeemed aeons ago. But what I mean is, I want to see a redemption because I love his character. I love Zuko's character. I love the conflict that he is going through. And he's just a teenager. So it's really something to witness, to see somebody so conflicted, and somebody could change so many things. I want to see a redemption for Zuko. And I think they're showing us all of this because they are pointing towards that. And I kind of see the parallel between friendships here. Obviously, Sozen and Roku were friends from the beginning. They were best friends. But I'm starting to see a parallel here with Aang and Zuko. Obviously, they are not friends from the beginning. They are enemies. But my guess is they are trying to portray perhaps a future friendship for both of them. Or perhaps it's just my optimistical mind that wants to see that. I don't know. The show is giving me a lot of hints about that friendship. And not only that, obviously the fact that he is the great-grandson of an Avatar is giving me something else. Now, I'm going to speak briefly about Uncle Iroh. Uncle Iroh is still fascinating. We saw that in episode 4, if I'm not mistaken, how he's training and maintaining his mental wealth. By exercising, by doing something else. Perhaps he cannot play, he cannot read, he cannot do much, but at least he's occupying his mind and body into something else, into something productive, something that we must do in this quarantine, honestly. But I love how his wisdom comes from different sides, because I guess in a certain point in his life, he was just like any other Fire Lord or any other heir to the throne. But from all the beating that the life has given him, he's starting to learn that this is something else, that you don't need this world, you don't need to conquer the rest of the world. It's something else. And Uncle Iroh represents that wisdom so well. There are several questions here, obviously. For starters, how the hell did he get the thing of Avatar Roku, this gift, and how he hid that in the jail? But obviously, it's just a minor nitpick from me, so it doesn't really represent much things. Another thing, and this is obviously not in relationship with the story, is the boys. Obviously, by this moment, I know that his original voice actor, Mako, again, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, died, unfortunately. But the voice they used to replace him is pretty good. Honestly, it's fucking amazing. It's not perfect, no. You can hear in a certain point, especially with long speeches, you can hear there is a difference, that is not Mako or Mako there. But it's pretty fucking good, honestly. In short speeches, you cannot hear any different, man. It's only when there is a long speech is when you start to see, oh yes, you start to hear the other voice. You start to hear it. But it's a pretty good job they are doing. Yeah, a fascinating episode. I love it. And I love how all these surprises that they are giving us in the episode. This series is truly escalating at the speed of light. It's amazing. Every episode is better than the one before. Oh my god, I cannot wait for the next one. But unfortunately, I have no longer time to watch it. And yes, I think I exhausted the topic of this one. I hope you enjoy it, and let me just remind you that if you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider a subscription and turn on notifications. If you enjoyed the episode, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment so I know what you think about the episode, my reaction, my commentary, and if you need to add something else to the mix or something I miss. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not answering you in the moment, because I have a very bad memory for that. I thought, oh yes, I'm going to answer later, and I never do it. So I'm so sorry about that. But yes, I'm going to try to do it today. Well, the day I'm recording, obviously. So please be patient with me. Obviously, the link for my Twitter is in the description below, alongside with the link to my Patreon. Remember, you get access to a week before episode, and not only that, you get access to my full uncut reaction. So if you're interested in that, please check the link in the description below. So anyway, yes, I think that's it. I genuinely have nothing else to say, but thank you for your attention, and see you on the next one. Bye.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, give it a like so the algorithm from YouTube will help me out. And check my other videos, share them, and also why not subscribe to my channel and join this community. And as always, I want to thank you for your attention, your likes, and even your dislikes, your comments, which is something I always look forward to read. And yeah, once more, thanks, and see you on the next one.